Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. I'm just doing some light reading today, this morning. I learned a new term, horizontal shareholding. Isn't that fascinating? Well, welcome everybody to the Queen of Books You've Never Heard of. I don't know, has anyone heard of Antitrust by Amy Klobuchar? I'm here to do a tag today, but first, who am I? For those who don't know, and for those who want to listen in on me practicing my intro, I'm Margaret Pinard. I'm a historical fiction author and an eclectic reader, which hopefully you'll get from the grab bag of books I'm going through today. I send book mail and I run a Patreon book club, so look down in the description for details on those. I start readathons like May of the Moderns and Black Author Tuber readathons, and I am a mighty blazer. So we like the lit. How's that for an intro? I started a little bit early today because I'm also an early bird who likes to. So we've got lots of books to get through today for the I Am the Reader book tag. This was actually put together by a big publisher who is on trial, being sued right now, being challenged because of antitrust issues. Funny how that might, apply in this case and come in handy. But yeah, it was put out by a big publisher. But Jim from Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff felt moved to do this tag, pull it out of obscurity and resurrect it. And all the way from Pasanauri, he has tagged me. So I don't know. I haven't done a tag in a long time, but I felt motivated to do this one because of a particular question, actually. And so we're going to get started on here. I tagged the last 5 booktubers that tagged me because I haven't done their tags yet. So Beth Ann Burning a Socolar, Rosie Cockshut, Katya Weinert, Leo Bancroft, and Monica at Dog-Eared Musings. Sorry, I haven't done yours. I'm skipping to the back of the line to do this one. There's the ones that I haven't done. They're not marked on the side. So there's a fair few. And so let's get started. I want to say hi to the people in the comments. Shannon thought it was yesterday, but I do my regular shows Sunday at 11 and Wednesday at 11. I've switched over from Tuesday because it was too close to Sunday and it was interfering with some of the Mighty Blaze stuff that I had to do. So now we're on Wednesdays. What else can you expect to be regular on this channel? It's true, I don't like a routine, but I do booktube stuff the first week of the month, karaoke the second Saturday, whether it's here or Barrett's channel, an author panel, a Patreon book chat, book tags, book reviews, and there you have me, with some other stuff regularly thrown in as well. Jim's here to watch, even though it is about 10 p.m. over in Tbilisi. Ish. I don't know if you're back yet. That's the longest vacation ever, Jim. Anita is here. Hello. Cool Gamer is here. Hello. So organized with the tag history. Yes, but has it prompted me to do those tags? No, because every time I look at the schedule, I'm like, oh, but I want to fit this in. Priorities. Priorities are difficult. All right, so let's start off with the first question. Choose one word that describes being a reader. And my word is multiverse, because you wouldn't let me use a quote, so I'm using a word that references a quote. And the quote is, I have never read him, but I love this quote from George R.R. Martin in A Dance with Dragons. He says, "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies, said Jojen. The man who never reads lives only one." So I do love the ability to live different lives, immerse yourself in different experiences when you read. So one word that describes being a reader, multiverse. I don't know, is that cheating? Who cares? Second question, what's the very first book you fell in love with? And I don't have it here. I think it's in San Luis Obispo. I think I was very, very careful not to damage it, but it might have been damaged. It's a book called The Jolly Postman, or Other People's Letters by Janet and Alan Alberg. And it's a children's book. It's mostly illustrated with a little bit of text. And the fun thing about it is that it's this postman that's basically in fairyland, and he's delivering letters. And you actually get sort of letters glued onto the page that you can open up and read. And they're all different styles and different backgrounds and all these fun things. So if you needed to source where my love of letters and letter writing came from, it's probably that book. So I remember like being so reverent because the envelopes were so fragile that you had to be very careful. And so when you say fall in love with a book, yeah, there's lots of books I had read to me. There's lots of early reader series I remember growing up on, but I remember that was like, oh, one of those types of books when I was young. And shout out to Jeremy Fee for the old tag that he put up today. I don't remember a lot of books that I read when I was younger. So we're skipping to the ones that I do remember because they're still around. Question number 3. And I'm going to include Jim's addition to this one and add another of my own. Hardcover, paperback, ebook, or audiobook? So basically, which format do you prefer as a reader? And I'm going to add also condition. So for me, the prioritization goes paperbacks in general, ebooks for indies, because that's an access issue for both the authors and the distributors. Audiobooks for long drives. If you listen to me talk about Permanent Record by Edward Snowden, that was a great one. And used for the planet. So yeah, these days I don't buy a lot of new books. Mostly it's when they're friends' books or they're books that I'm trying to support in their launch from marginalized authors. But yeah, so that's my order of operations. I usually go to a used bookstore and I get used paperbacks of books that are on my list that I'm like hunting for or sort of keeping on the back burner to like look for because I want to read them and get that expansion of knowledge from that book. So I keep my eye out and I'm always on the hunt. And yeah, used books because new books require new paper, which is killing trees, and the distribution networks are such that a lot of that paper comes from China, as does the printing. So it's a lot of world travel, and that's carbon emissions. So used paperbacks for the win, unless you really want to support a new marginalized author. That is my philosophy. Jim returns to Tbilisi tomorrow. All right. Ben, running to write. Hello. Going to be a lurker today and catch on the replay. Don't forget to press that like button. Thank you, Ben. Richard agrees with me. Richard Holiday says paperbacks are greater than all. I like it. Jim says this month the 9 books I finished were all ebooks because of travel convenience. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, and if you have questions on any of these, pop it down below. But yeah, those seem to make the most logical sense to me. And if you've been following the channel for a while, which everyone here has, there is a chart that I try to stick to at least getting one in each category each month so that I've got like a diverse list of books per month and the goals that I'm trying to hit over my lifetime as a reader. And I try to get an ebook, I try to get an audiobook on there. So format is one of the things I consider because it does make your reading more diverse to expand the formats. All right, next question. 1, 2, 3, 4. Question number 4. How has reading shaped your identity? So I watched Ryan, Book Time with Ryan's tag earlier today, which was interesting. When I think about reading shaping my identity, I think about reading as being such a solo pursuit. And so when I was like a lonely kid / lonely teen, reading was my escape and I'm doing something I want to do because, you know, this is the alternative to sitting at home alone or whatever. And because I did all that reading, it sort of scooted me on to the bench of academic achievement. And that had some pluses and some minuses. I feel like academic achievement in the time that I was in school was about satisfying others' expectations, sort of like reading the room and giving the answer that you know will be right. So less about really plumbing the depths of yourself and your values, and more about acing the test and showing off what you know and that sort of thing. So not all good, but helps you in some parts of life. So there's that. Um, I read more books, mostly nonfiction, to sort of unravel the cons of that. So the people pleasing, the satisfying others' expectations, that took some nonfiction, which you might hear about later, to unravel. So that was more reading and learning. And another of the things that reading does for me is satisfy my escapist tendencies. And that also has pluses and minuses. So sometimes you need to escape and just turn off and disconnect. But you also need to get back on the horse and learn resilience in this life. And so sometimes books push you more into the escapist head in the sand tendency, but knowing is half the battle. And reading more books can help you unravel that and learn to be more resilient. So yeah, there's a lot of like reading going over here and then like righting the ship to be balanced, and then reading to right the ship, and then like, you know, something big happens and you sort of off the deep end again. So reading shaping my identity. It's ballast. It's the oar on your rowboat. I didn't think of a metaphor for this one, but I don't know. Maybe those will help communicate my my analogies here. We have Richard weighing in. I'm sure the publishing industry is a big paper consumer or one of the most sustainable industries now. Depends on what the mix of the paper is and where they're getting it and what they're doing after they cut the trees down. Richard, coming from a logging legacy area here. And he also says some books, though, are still a complete waste of paper. JC's here. Hello, hello. Jim says, if I weren't a reader, I expect I'd still be in the UK. It spurred my love of travel. Oh, wow. Well, that's a big life changer then, isn't it? Yeah. Richard saying, I went to an all-boys secondary school, and I think being seen as a reader was almost a negative thing compared to the sports lot. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it was seen as a negative thing unless it was all-consuming. So, yeah. Shannon is attending the sci-fi conference, but stopped by to make friends with the like button. Thanks, Shannon. All right, so we're on question 5, I believe. What book do you read when you need to be comforted? So there's various reasons for needing to be comforted. So the way I interpreted this was, what are the books I reread or like read little bits of here and there the most often? And lately, it's been this one, Sunshine by Robin McKinley, which is an excellent, excellent standalone vampire romance thriller. So it's different lore. It's a much better constructed world than you'll find in other similar genre books. It's got a great voice of the main character. And yeah, the thriller comes through really well. The attitude, the humor, I just love it. So whenever I like open up a piece and like get immersed, it's escapist tendencies, as I said. And the other type of book that I remember turning to a lot was this one I found maybe like 10 years ago, How to Survive the Loss of a Love. It's got 3 doctor PhD authors, Melba Colgrove, Harold Bloomfield, and Peter McWilliams. And it's a tiny book. It's basically like bullet points to stave off depression. So need to be comforted is a great prompt for this book, but also little humorous poems, really like heart-wrenching poems. Yeah, like things that sort of turn things on their ear and make you look at things a different way. And you're like, oh, you get distracted from whatever pain, emotional thing you're going through. So Yeah. So that's good when you need to feel comforted as well. Melissa's here. She says, love that cover. I think that's for Sunshine, right? Because this is like a 1980, 1970s, very different vibe. Yeah, and so far I am disappointed no one has commented on my joke about antitrust and PRH originating this tag. So get on that, people. All right, I think I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm on number 6. Who taught you to be a reader, or did you do it all on your own? And like I said, shout out to Jeremy Fee on being old on BookTube. I don't remember the process at all, but I'm sure parents and teachers were involved in this process. Blame the memory cloud, the memory fog that just follows me throughout my life and gets closer and closer behind me, obscuring all that has happened and leaving only photo evidence. So there we go. Question 7, describe your dream reading lounge. Okay. Yes, Sunshine. And hello, Matthew Dixon. Welcome to the chat. Richard says, yay, capitalism. Boo. Antitrust is all about anti-competitiveness in capitalism. So hopefully you'll see the nuance there. Dream reading lounge. So this is what I imagined for you all. So if you want, close your eyes, treat yourself to imagining yourself in my dream reading lounge. It's in a forest canopy. There are wooden platforms and moss cushions and fragrant flowers perfuming the air. There are multiple levels of bookshelves winding around one main giant tree, 100 feet off the ground, like the platforms in Lothlorien. And they are spelled not to get too much moisture and rot. It's between 60 and 70 degrees. That's 15 to 21 centigrade. I looked it up. And the only noise is friendly birds and beasts and far-off waves. When you want to take a break from reading, you pop up to see over the canopy where it's either foggy or sunrise gorgeous. Oh, and there's a never-ending tea bar by magical means at your disposal at any hour. So how do you like that? Dream reading lounge. I sort of went all out on that question. I had fun. You said dream, so I wasn't confined to, reality. What, number 8, I think, what book changed the way you act or see the world? Oh, we got some people catching up. Melissa says, I don't remember learning to read, but I definitely remember a time when I couldn't and the magic that seemed inherent in deciphering those letters. Well, that's a cool moment. Side note, just yesterday I watched Won't You Be My Neighbor, the documentary on Mr. Rogers. I definitely watched Mr. Rogers growing up. And someone mentioned that one of the magical things about Mr. Rogers was that he could remember being a kid and having those feelings at like 5 and 6 and 7. And like, I can't remember that at all, but that's talent. That's like a genius for sure. Matthew says, beachfront with a summer breeze. All right. Richard says, comfy sofa is all I need. All right. Melissa says, I'm in it for the chill temperature and the tea bar. Not the moss. The moss was pretty particular to me, but some also might appreciate it, I hope. Jim says, when you learn a language with a different alphabet, you get back some of the magic from deciphering letters. Good point. Very good point, Jim. Matthew asks, is a coffee bar a thing? And I don't know. I think in my dream lounge, it's just going to be tea because I don't drink coffee. Yeah, Jim says tea bar and moss cushions sound good. Yes. Okay, so final question. What book changed the way you act or see the world? And when I watched Ryan this morning, so it's fresh in my mind, he was saying, he kind of hemmed and hawed, and he had one he got to, but change the way you act or see the world. There, as I said, reading affecting my identity, a lot of books have sort of pushed me one way or pushed me back in terms of being balanced in my life and sort of getting a broader view of humanity and what I want to do with my life. So there's a lot of books that have come in at all different sort of pressure points to accomplish this. And in no particular order, actually, there is going to be a particular order because of the graphical interface. So let's do this. I've got some that this is an early one. So The Dragon Prince by Melanie Ron. Early reading book with like spicy scenes. Also, The Dream of the Dragon Cooperation was like, I don't know, early precursor to wanting to work for the UN and like speaking over sunlight. Like it just unlocked a lot of imaginative things that as like a sixth grader, seventh grader, I was like, wow. So imagination as well as the other things I mentioned. Love this book. And I mentioned it before. Another contender for changing how I act and see the world, The Lorax. Like, I don't remember reading this book by Dr. Seuss, but I definitely loved the movie, and I'm sure I read the book when I was younger. And it's all about the Lorax speaks for the trees, and it's about the environmentalist movement, rather, and basically like humanity's error of taking for granted that they can just chop down everything, speaking of the publishing industry, and not be responsible for the consequences, and then just move on to the next thing that we're going to take advantage of, which is in the movie, not the book, I think. But so good, so poignant, but definitely better than The Giving Tree, in my opinion. So come at me if you disagree, but The Lorax beats The Giving Tree. The next one, changing how I thought or acted, is, oh, there's an audio thing on that. That's not the image I wanted. That's fine. I thought it was just me, but it isn't. This is, I think, the first Brené Brown book that I read. And we were talking about self-help genre stuff in Melissa Ike's live stream last night. And she had read a different Brené Brown. But this is the one that hit me first. Brené Brown, if you don't know, is a researcher, qualitative researcher on things like shame and community and what are the other things? She had like 4 emotions that are like getting in the way of relationships and this kind of thing for psychology. And she like made it big in 2012 when her TED Talk went viral. And, you know, I came across her through the World Domination Summit, of which more anon. But yeah, this thing about shame and speaking and is really good. And most of her books are really good. I haven't read all of them, but yeah, love Brené Brown. And then the last little one I had, gotta shout out Lord of the Rings, the original covers, because let's see, when am I doing this right? Nope. There. I can't do a diagonal backwards. I obviously not going to manage that. But yeah, my mom had the original cover books from the 60s. J.R.R. Tolkien. I referenced Lothlorien in my dream reading lounge. So obviously this one has hit me pretty hard. Change the way I act or see the world. I mean, there have been discussions about racist overtones and such, but the main thing that I got is sort of the environmentalist versus industrial. You know, don't lose sight of the connection you have with the earth and the way things grew up and the balance of good and evil and that sort of thing. So great story, as well as, you know, lessons for life. I just don't look into the species and the fantasy stuff so deeply. So those are the graphics ones I have. Oh, Matthew's saying the Bible. That's a no for me. Jim's saying Why We Sleep, which I think is in his tag. Since reading it, my 8 hours set aside for sleep has been sacrosanct. Yes, I remember you talking about that. It's very cool. 3 is what? Matthew, tell me. Other books. that I would include in this include Without Reservations. I've reread a few times, by Alice Steinbach, Baltimore writer who passed away a few years ago. This is The Travels of an Independent Woman. This is a journalist who's Pulitzer Prize winning, but not famous, and retired, and was like, what do I want to do? Her life was changing, and she sort of did the deep dive of what is at the heart of me. What do I want out of life now that I'm not going to be working at the Baltimore Sun or wherever it was she last worked? And she went out and did it and met people and opened herself up to new experiences. And I just, when reading this over a decade ago, I just felt she was so brave, and I wanted to take it as an imprint and do all the things that she had done. So very much like Alice Steinbach's writing. We've got Margaret and I, definitely got me with the title there, by Kate Wilhelm. Kate Wilhelm is most known for 1970s and 80s sci-fi, but this is more like a psychological supernatural. Got this at Leon's bookstore. Oh my goodness. Wow. Leon's doesn't exist anymore. That's kind of a sad thought. But the way I look at the world, so the heroine here basically the heroine is not the narrator, but the narrator shows us how a consciousness could interact with a conscious brain. So it's a very interesting novel to read as a young 20-something person and realize when you're fighting against yourself, maybe there's deeper wisdom to plumb. Yeah. There's sort of an overarching question in my life about trusting intuition. And this has got some really interesting questions to ask on that front. Then we have what I talked about earlier. The World Domination Summit is related to this book, which is part of the reason I moved to Portland. The Art of Nonconformity, subtitle, Set Your Own Rules, Live the Life You Want, and Change the World, by Chris Guillebeau. And this is one of his early, we've got a receipt in here. Ordering receipt from 2011, 11 years ago. Wow. So this was really in alignment with what I wanted to do at that point. I was leaving the nonprofit sector. I was looking for work that was both satisfying to my dream goals, but also helping the world in some way. And so this was helping me sort of think through how to do that and how to arrange things. Of course, it's not achieved, but was really good in changing how I saw the world and my part in it. Okay, two more. The book by Alan Watts. I don't know if anyone in the audience knows who Alan Watts is. It's kind of a big deal. This is the book on the taboo against knowing who you are. And he was sort of 60s, 70s, 80s speaker who would come to these kind of far out conferences and do the thing that I normally hate, which is tell the audience that they were wrong and everything is wrong kind of thing. And in different contexts, I've definitely reacted very badly to that. Don't being told that everything I believe is wrong. But Alan Watts did it, and in this way where it was sort of teasing, it was sort of gradual, it was sort of tongue-in-cheek, as if you listen to him on cassette, which I have done, it's easier to take in his British voice. So yeah, and this book, I don't remember where I got this book. It was, look at that. Barter Books, Annexation, Northumberland, £4.60. That's pretty neat. I love how they have the stamp with that. And so Barter Books, I think that would be my 2015 trip to the UK. That's so cool. So used paperback. Here we go. Yeah, and changed, how you think about tabula rasa, taking things for granted, assuming, all that kind of stuff, trusting your intuition. Kind of a theme here, guys. Kind of a theme. And lastly, I think this might be one of the earliest books that changed how I saw the world. It's called Wishcraft by Barbara Sher, How to Get What You Really Want. This was if you ever watched Free to Be, You and Me, like early 80s, I don't know, prog rock is the feeling, but Sesame Street is the delivery mechanism. About like getting in touch with what you want and like making steps of how to do it and sort of being unabashedly cheerful and ambitious and not having to present a cynical front. So also because I just watched the Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood documentary, you know, that's really rare. It's, I mean, I haven't thought this part through, but if you think about people on BookTube, I'm mixing up the video I just recorded with this live stream. I'm trying to think of like booktubers who come across as like purely what's it called? Not a straight man, but like people who are not setting up maybe I don't know how to describe this. I'm definitely not one of them. I am definitely not at the place where I can like come across like Mr. Rogers and express directly in a non-ironic tone what I want, how I'm doing with my goals, how I'm feeling. There's like this terrifying openness that I think a lot of us are like, no, thank you. Don't check that box. And so we resort to humor or I don't know, some other sort of hide behind a screen because being that terrifyingly open is terrifying. But anyway, getting back to this book, this is where I first learned about barn raising and a lot of brainstorming methods that I think were new when this book came out in the 70s. I think it's kind of contemporaneous with What Color Is Your Parachute by Richard Nelson Bullis, who blurbed the back of the book here. And so, yeah, lots of tools for people who are trying to live alternate lifestyles, trying to help the world, change the world. Someone gave me a really hard time a couple months ago for saying that I wanted to change the world for the better and like questioning my motives. And I was like, what? Who are you? Like, you do not play in my pond. Yeah. So those are all the books. Let's see if I can hold them all up at once and put this up here and be like mad cap. So that's another resorting to humor. There we go. There's all my books. There's all my books. And there's a thumbnail. But yeah, so this is a really like thought-provoking tag. I thought I was prepared for it, but then I went off on all these other tangents. So thank you, Jim, for provoking that. The people I've tagged, feel free to do the additional format plus condition to the question that Jim and I added. And, you know, do it in your own time, of course. I have a couple more updates to leave people with, which is that the next thing I've got going on is a productivity sprint on Friday. It's my first Friday because it will be September. Hallelujah. Hopefully the temperatures won't be so freaking hot. So that is up there in the chat now. And I'm pretty excited for the September TBR and my August wrap up because one is going to be Jack Spratt and one is going to be Jack Spratt's wife. I will leave it to you to determine which is which, but I'm excited. There's going to be a lot to talk about for one of them. So yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, it wasn't about being a better person. It was, you know, wanting to change the world for the better. But yeah, it was a weird conversation. It's weird. Laughing, yeah. So yeah, I have no question of the day today. Maybe just like asking the people in chat what you're reading. This can be like the free form kind of do your own dance portion of the tag because I have another 15 minutes and my fan is on, so I'm good. My cat is out on the bed, so he's not going to knock anything over. Yeah. I'm not going to finish this one. this month because today is the last day of the month, but I'm close. I am at 260 and it's only got 360. So like I'm 100 pages away. That is the notes section, which I am not going to read. I don't know. Do you consider the notes section necessary to say you've read a book? Because if so, no. But yeah. I'm liking the content of the antitrust book, but I'm not really liking how it's written, to be honest. It's not on the readable side of the scale, which is fine. She's a senator. She's not a writer. She's a lawyer. She's not a writer. Maybe I could do like it's a 10, but I think I would need to find a new twist on that. Like maybe for big tomes. I don't know. If you've seen a good tag about it's a 10, but let me know. Jim is already reading Pei's novella, The Peregrine Decline. Very good. I saw his video and I was like, do you mean Pellerin? But no, he means Peregrine. So I like the cover for that. That looks interesting. Melissa is hoping to finish The Art of Losing by the end of the week. The Art of Losing. I don't know who that's by because I only think of The Art of Racing in the Rain, which is a dog book, and not the one that you're referencing. Matthew Dixon, Apartment 16 by Adam Neville. So you got another number here, Matthew. You're going to tell me what 3 was for? Or are we just going to like brush it under the table? That's fine. I don't know this one either. Apartment 16. I don't know the author. Interesting. The Art of Losing is by Alice Zeniter. Doesn't ring a bell, but thank you for letting me know. Jim read it as Pellerin first as well. See, it's the French button. It's like the French language rushing into the vacuum to say, I know. And you're like, no, wrong. Go back in the closet. Oh, it's good stuff. I've read a bunch of books by him. I haven't read any more books by Chris. I haven't read any other books by Barbara Sher, have I? No, there's a modern equivalent that I have. I read one other book by Kit Wilhelm that was a science fiction, and I was regretful of that fact because I didn't like it. I think it was Where Late the Sweet Bird Sang. It's the one she's famous for in the sci-fi world. She won an award for, but not my favorite. Alice only has 2 books, and I have both of them. I don't think they wrote anything else. And Robin McKinley, no, I haven't read The Blue Sword, but I do need to get on the other Robin train because I've heard just good things about Robin Hobb and her Fair Assassin. Is that or ship of something? She's got a couple series. I don't want to mix them up, but I definitely need to read a Robin Hobb book, and I think I have the first one, Ship of Destiny. I can't remember. In my bookcase, a little mass market, but I don't know when I'll fit it in. I don't know. Maybe it'll be a sci-fi September pick. We'll have to see. Do you think the TBR is going to be big or the wrap-up is going to be big? Which one do you think is going to be big or small? They're like my cackling of delight here, trying to tease you guys for the next couple of videos. Matthew brushing under the table. Okay. Jim says he uses some French in the book. Not unsurprising. As a Canadian, yeah. Jim says 40% of the book so far. It's really good. Oh, and this is the Peregrine Decline. Interesting. Did you read the Marilyn Monroe book that he had up? Because I did not read that one. Didn't feel like it was going to be in my wheelhouse. So Melissa's hoping to start a new Atlantic Canadian book very soon called Some Hellish. Some Hellish? That's an interesting title. Atlantic Canadian. Very cool. So I'm assuming the author is Atlantic Canadian and it's not just set there. Yeah. Jim put up his September TBR today. Yes, and I saw several people who put their August wrap-ups up today. And I'm like, my dudes, it is August 31st. The day is not over yet. How can you have recorded and uploaded? Ugh, it makes my brain bust. Jim also requested Katie Lumsden's book, The Secrets of Heartwood Hall from NetGalley. Very cool. This is Katie from Books and Things. Katie, why am I blanking on the name? It's a huge channel. It's like 15,000 subscribers. She's one of the co-hosts of Victober. She starts all her videos at a very high volume saying, right, so hello, which kind of gets me. Jim says, haven't read the Marilyn Monroe book. Got it. I'm guessing huge wrap up. Melissa is correct. Anita says Robin Hobb series are the Farseer trilogy and the Live Ship Traders. Okay, and the Live Ship Traders is the newer one. I think the used mass market paper book that I found is the Farseer trilogy. So we'll see. We'll see if that gets popped up in September. Speaking of which, since Melissa guessed correctly, I'm just gonna like tease the September TBR. This is what I have so far. Right? And yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with a tiny TBR. They're all readathon influenced, and so basically I'm leaving a lot of space for mood reading in September, which is exciting. Yeah, I've also got dental surgery, so that's why I recorded a video so that I can have one in case I am incapacitated. So yeah, my upper wisdom teeth are gonna come out, and I'm a little nervous about it. Jim says, when I pick up a book by a booktuber, there is some trepidation in case I don't like it. Haven't been disappointed yet. Oh, appreciate that, Jim. If any of you don't know and are looking to see, I don't know, if you want to read my books, Jim has reviews of them. I have a special playlist for all the people on BookTube who have reviewed my books, no matter if they're good reviews or meh reviews. I put them all up there so that I can be, you know, reviewer space, not an author weighing in. I appreciate anyone who reads them, who talks about them, you know, even if it's a meh review that might point someone else to something that they like about it. So I appreciate any discoverability. It's so hard for indie authors. Matthew Dixon says, some hellish. Isn't that a contradiction since Canada is so icy? I don't know. Melissa says that's only like 6 months of the year. And in Portland, it's only like 3 days of the year. So fun, fun, fun. All right. Well, I don't yet know what I will be doing on Friday for the productivity sprint, but if you're available Friday morning Pacific, 9 to 11, so I don't know, around noon Eastern time, or 9 in the evening when you're reading, Tbilisi time, we'll see. We'll see what I get up to. Reading, writing, editing, marketing, publishing. Maybe I'll have my ISBN back by then and I'll be able to take the grasping root and put it on Ingram's catalog so it'll be available in Bookshop. That would be amazing. But I'm not holding my breath. So that is going to be it for today. I hope to see you on Friday. Jim's booktuber books read include me, Mark Nash, Dane Cobain, Jay Scully, and now Theo. Yay! Very cool. And Lauren, hello. She's at work. Yes, I don't know who needs to do it, but it is a fun tag. Happy Hump Day, 6 p.m. South African time. Thanks for popping that in there. Yeah. So have a lovely evening. Have a lovely rest of the day. Wednesday. Hope it's not too hot or too cold where you are in the world. And hope you're enjoying a great book. See you next time, everybody.